Good morning, Macroeconomics summer class. I'm Chris McCarthy, your professor for this summer session. If you didn't check out the last video, hi, good to meet you. Real quick, we're just going to go over just this very simple practice problem on supply and demand shifts. All right, so this is question number 16 of the practice problems for chapter 3. It's located in week 2. So if you've already done this, might not hurt to kind of just take a look and make sure everything is clicking for you, right? Because this is material that's going to be on the midterm. Let's dive right in. So the prompt says 25 years ago, tofu is only available, in primarily Asian sections, large cities and stuff, but it's become a high protein health food, widely available in supermarkets. And also, okay, so there's a big and here, right? That's at the same time. So we got to pay attention to this kind of language when we're doing supply and demand shifts. So at the same time, tofu production evolved to become factory-based using modern food processing techniques, okay? So that at the same time is telling us that there's two shifts that are happening in this problem, all right? Now the prompt tells us, using the market graph below, show how the tofu market has changed over the last 25 years up till today. So we have this starting point, right, in terms of 25 years ago, only available in small businesses and not that popular, okay? And then we have this ending point, today, 25 years later, we see that it is a lot more popular and the production methods have increased, okay? So it's the change between 25 years ago and today. So let's go in the order that they use, right? So tofu available only from small businesses, blah, blah, blah. Today, it's popular as a high protein health food. Okay, so which factor of is that a demand shifter or a supply shifter? I want you to ask yourself in your head real quick. Okay, and then so if you identify that it's a demand shifter, you're correct. Excellent job. Now, what I want you to do is you need to be able to bin it in one of those categories, right? Is it something that's happening with a complement? Is it something that's happening with income? Okay, so for this particular one, I want you to, in your head, again, try and figure out which one, which shifter of demand this is impacting. Correct, it's impacting the tastes and preferences shifter of demand. Excellent job. So in order to show that demand shift, right, it tells us click and drag one or both of the lines to a new parallel position to answer this question. So I'm using, Firefox right now. I've got my Flash all updated. And so when I highlight over this demand curve, it emboldens, right? It gets stronger. And so I'm just going to click it once it's bold like that. And then I'm going to drag it up. And it really doesn't matter. We can do 1, 2, 3. We can do 4, as much as we want, really, right? So we go ahead and we click it up. And I guess we can only do one. It'll only let us do just the one. But if this was a test, if I was grading it by hand, it wouldn't matter how large this shift is, okay? So don't kind of get caught up or hung up on that. All right, next part. At the same time, tofu production evolved to become factory-based using modern food processing techniques. So again, I want you to think about, all right, first step, is this demand or supply shifter? Right, it's a supply shifter. Excellent, because it has to do with the production of the actual tofu, right? The kind of processing of the soybeans that make the tofu. So now I want you to figure out which actual shifter of supply this is going to be, okay? So let's go ahead and maybe, supply is a little bit trickier, so you might need to actually look at the list, right? But you should be able to, again, bin this, put this in a little category of a particular shifter of supply. If you can't do that, there's no shift of supply happening. Okay, so keep that in mind. So, if the food processing technologies have become modernized, right, and if now we have a factory instead of before, maybe people were making it, by hand, right, that means that it's going to be a lot cheaper, right? So the factors of production, just the everyday cost of making this tofu is going to decrease. Right, so in the same way that if you had a business delivering pizzas or something like that, and you had a fleet of cars and you paid for all the gasoline in the car, and all of a sudden the price of gas goes down, right? That would mean that you could provide more at any given price per pizza. It's the same kind of deal here. So because of the fact that now they can make more tofu for any given dollar, there's going to be a shift in the supply curve. And supply is tricky, right? In terms of, a shift out and a shift in kind of look deceiving. So what I want you to do is I want you to almost fix the price, all right? So you fix the price and you say, at this price, and with what's going on, do I expect there to be more soybeans produced every month, and that would be a shift out of supply? Or do I expect there to be less soybeans produced every month, which would be a shift inward of supply, okay? So let's think about that. So if it's modernized, and if it's now factory-based, at any given price per pound of soybeans, I would expect there to be a larger quantity sold of soybeans, right? So if I fix this price, then at the same price, now I've got a larger Q, right? This Q to the right of the other Q, so therefore it's bigger, okay? So now that we've shifted both the demand and the supply curves, now we can take a look at what's happened with our new equilibrium, and that's what the rest of the question asks, okay? So real quick, we're running long on this video, but real quick, what would be the new equilibrium price? Excellent. We don't know, right? So we would say it's indeterminate, right? It just depends on the slope of these curves. It depends on the size of the shifts, right? So because of the fact that we're really not given much more information besides the fact that they are shifting, we just kind of say we don't know. It's ambiguous, okay? What we can say, though, is we can take a look at the quantity, right? We had this original equilibrium quantity where the supply and demand meet. That was at this Q. And now there's a new equilibrium quantity where the new supply and demand meet. And if we had a little ... down there, right, then that would be a Q that's much greater than the original Q. So the quantity will increase, and the equilibrium price, we don't know what's going to happen to it. Now, one quick thing. I don't want you guys to fall into the common pitfall that a lot of students fall into by saying, well, the price doesn't change, right? Because if you draw these in terms of they have the exact same slope, and if you draw them in terms of they have the exact same size of the shifts, then yeah, it's going to look like the price doesn't change. Okay, but keep in mind, it's not that the price stays the same, it's just that we don't know what happens to the price. Alright guys, if you have any other questions, please send me an email. I still haven't played any board games with anybody, so I'm looking to. So, email me, come and see me in office hours. I'm here and waiting for you guys. Have a great week.